The card is blocking the face. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, good. So that means we are good.
We are good to go. Yes.
So I'll do sports for maybe some 15 minutes, then I'll come to you so that we can have enough time for our conversation.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just take you off now. Then
Can kick off, and it's on Smailz Radio 98.7 FM. Well, next is my guest, just me more, and I'll welcome my guest, veteran journalist and civic leader with over 30 years' experience in print, radio, and television. I will talk to him in a moment. Stay with us. Can you hear me?
Very well.
Can you hear me?
Very well. Very well. I can hear you very well.
Okay, good. Hmm? Yeah. All right, it's coming up to 4 minutes before the hour of 5 here in Nigeria. And we are on to the weekend kickoff with Ambrose Olutayo. Should be the time to bring on my guest. My guest is a veteran Nigerian journalist and civic leader with over 30 years' experience in print, radio, and television. He began his career at The Guardian in 1987 and later served as a senior editor and political bureau director at Dark Communications PLC. Holds an MBA in International and Strategic Studies and another degree in Mass Communication. Is currently researching a PhD in Public Governance and Leadership and founded the PRIMAG in Nigeria to promote good governance, accountability, and citizen participation, and established the PRIMAG Foundation in Canada to advance multiculturalism and combat discrimination. So, my guest this evening, they say our journey together has been long. He's Executive Director of Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMAC, Nigeria, and founder of PRIMAC Foundation Canada. One who was saying practiced journalism under the military, and in fact, he will tell a story of what his eyes saw and his body felt under the military before the advent of the democracy that we are all enjoying today. And it is my pleasure to welcome onto the show this evening Augustine Ohiria Agbosoremi, known as Austin Agbosoremi. Good evening to you.
Thank you very much, my Brozuma. Also, so glad to see you again after a very long time. And the memories I have is reflections on our days in dark communications. And I'm happy we're able to have this conversation today to talk about it, reflect on some of the things that we saw, and perhaps the battle that is still on establishing and nurturing democracy and the future challenges that we face, whether we like it or not. we must continue to put in our faces, our voices to some of the things that we do. So good to talk with you. And I must also say at the beginning that on the feed, particularly during the military regime, before we come to the nitty-gritty of all the things we want to say, I just wanted to fly this ahead. That you, myself, Adebayo Bodurin, Benga Aruleba, and a host of other journalists, broadcasters in dark communications, we saw it. We saw what happened under the
Kolade Alabi of blessed memory.
There were so many of us there, and we saw some of those things that happened. But I'm glad that at the end of the day, we have democracy. It may not be working as we want it to be, but it's not as bad as what we saw those days that we're hiding here and there and doing the job and talking not too freely. Thank you for inviting me to the program.
All right, what we do on the weekend kickoff is to trace your journey where it all began. Tell me about Austin Agbosoremi. I'll keep it at Austin Agbosoremi. Pardon me. I know it is Augustine Ohiri Agbosoremi.
Yeah.
Who is Austin? Where did this journey begin? Ohiri is from Edo, no doubt. What part of Edo, and how was growing up like?
Yeah. It was not a very easy one. It was not a very easy one. We all just people of our age, we grew up in the traditional village setting where we, like a good Lord Jonathan, we didn't wear shoes when we went to primary schools. We're glad to have food waiting for us in the farm after a primary school, after our studies. And we are able to grow up in the community setting where everybody was your uncle, everybody was your father, everybody was your mother. And you had the privilege of tapping from what was available in the village setting, where there were no fears, where there were no you are left behind by your parents when they go to the farm. For anybody who was not going to the farm, and they come back, they meet you playing, and you have eaten. You go to primary school where you have everybody at the same level with granite, and if you are lucky to have granite, carry in our pockets. And we grew up from that age. From the age of 1 to 12, I was primarily in the village setting until after primary school, when I was moved to Lagos in 1974, 75. And I saw what Lagos, many people who are grown up now understand what Lagos was then. I mean, talking about 75, 74, 75, where the whole of Ijesha as it is now, were under water. It was just waterlogged area. It was nobody was living in the entire Ijesha, from Itire to Ijesha. And I had the privilege of seeing the Apapa Lagos, the Apapa Expressway constructed. We used to follow bulldozers, and we chased rats and rabbits when the bulldozers pulled up sand, and we played along the Jesha Azis, those Azis we could play with when we moved from Isele through Isolo. And we were able to move from Ijesha to watch as little children were playing. And then after about a year or two, I went back to Edo again to begin secondary school at a Daken Grammar School in Benin. Those were the early stages where you were not sure what was going to happen. I mean, in terms of, will you be able to go to school? Will you be able to go to the university? Will you be able to even go to secondary school? Because to go to secondary school then was very priced. You have to write common entrance, and then you have to select the schools you want to go to. If you pass, they ask you to come and do interview, and then you go, and if you are lucky. And got into the boarding house, away from my parents for the first time, and met with other people who are great friends. Some of them who are still alive are great friends today. From the Daken Grammar School in Bakwahe in Benin. So that was the background. It was not a background that you had everything, but you had just enough to push on with life. And you have loving parents who cared, who were ready to make sacrifices, trek long distances to the river and to the farm to make sure that you are able to have food on the table and to have enough to go to school. So it was not when some of us are passionate about building society and trying to get society better than we met it. These are some of the things that push us to want to say, look, can we prevent those who are coming from below us from passing through the paths that we pass through, and be able to create a society that is better than how we meant it. In my days, Ambrose, Radio Nigeria, FROCN, was 4 o'clock news, and everybody go through next to radio to hear what Gowon was doing, what was happening about the Civil War, what was happening in Lagos. It takes like almost a week for stories to transport from the city to the village. I said you have a radio set, and those radio sets, maybe 2 or 3 people in the entire village have a radio set. And as children, we didn't have the privilege of seeing some of the things that children are enjoying today. Of course, let us not talk about the internet, television, telephone, and all those things. So we're brought up in a society, under a society where we were really, when you say rudimentarily restricted to the things we see in the village, except some of the exposures we had in school, primary and then secondary school.
Was there anything way back in those days that gave you an idea of what you were going to become, or that you are going to end up in that radio or on that TV, or become a journalist? Was there anything, any inspiration, or things that you say, oh, okay, when I was growing up, I saw these, or someone said this to me?
Yeah. I think career-wise, Ambrose, you're just in secondary school, which is actually the beginning of where you want to pick up one or two things, and you begin to say which courses, which subjects am I going to do. I found myself in chemistry, in a biology class, and they were not behind back. If I take a look back, I didn't have any reason to be in the chemistry class. I was not doing well with mathematics. In fact, I failed it severally. It was not like you just sit down. I had to write severally to be able to get the required combinations to be able to go to. So if you had some guidance, you will not have it. You just face your artwork, maybe liberal arts, and maybe some commerce and economics in addition, social sciences, and leave the sciences alone. But we didn't have that kind of guidance in school to say, okay, who are there counselors that will sit you down to ask you, talk with you, what you want to be. But something happened when I was in secondary class. I had a teacher who was on part-time teaching English. I'm still in touch with him up to date. He's a very elderly man now. He is Mr. Aka Pome, as a part-time English teacher to teach. He talked to us about journalism, and we knew he was in NTA, was working. That was my first encounter with anything that has to do with media, journalism, or anything. So the thing clicked on my head, and I said, okay, mass communication, talk to us about journalism, about about mass communication. That was the first encounter, my first touch with mass communication and broadcasting or journalism. So, but I took it up and I told myself I was going to study mass communication. But it was actually my second course, and because I was having the idea to study law in the other law, mass communication, or theater art. I'm a very good dancer. We danced in the village setting. We did cultural dances. So I was going to say major in theater art if law, mass communication didn't come my way. So, but luckily, University of Jos actually admitted me to studying mass English language, theater art. They admitted me to study theater art, but because it was my third course, and I needed to wait a little for the admission to come out for the Polytechnic to get mass communication. I got admission to mass communication, so I jettisoned the theater art and I went for mass communication because that was my original thing I wanted. I didn't get law, so the next thing I got was mass communication after theater art. So those were the kind of things that inspiration, something you saw, and I started to look at, watch news closely, read the newspapers. Then you had some of our teachers then who buy newspapers, and we go to the common room where the teachers, where we had the privilege of going to the library in our secondary school, where newspapers are there, you go to read, and then TV was not available, but the newspapers were magazines, were drum. Later on, we had, Newswatch, those magazines that came offshoot of Concord and the others. Then Guardian was also the flagship. And incidentally, I started work on the Guardian newspapers because of my closeness to reading them when I was, in secondary school. So those were the days where you didn't really see somebody who would sit down. I remember one of my uncle, when I got admission to study mass communication, he is like a one-eyed man in the community of blind men, and he said, "What did you say you want to go and study?" And I said, "I got admission to study mass communication." And he said, "Do you know mass? Are you sure you can do mass?" and that was one person that I could have sat down to discuss my career with, but he didn't even understand. He was a teacher and he didn't know much about some of those things. So we like in the forest, there's no path. You have to carve it out yourself and be looking for signs that will take you to the road. And some of us were lucky. We were able to find ways to things that we said we wanted to do, and we got passionate about it. And we were lucky to get out of the wood and doing what we wanted to do. So my first encounter was in secondary school, who was working in NTA, who told us about journalism, mass communication, and then I started to get my own attachment to it. And here you go.
So, what was the newsroom like when you got to the Guardian newspaper? What was your first day like?
Yeah, it was like dropping you in the middle of the dark. I mean, I must confess to you, look, I was, my coming into the Guardian newsroom was one of the best things that ever happened, because in school, I was telling everybody, if I have the opportunity, I want to start work. I want to go and do internship on the Guardian newspapers. And it just happened that there was this one man. There's a story that I needed to tie back to. There was this, when I left, I told you when I left primary school, I came to Lagos.
Yeah.
And I also finished secondary school. I also came to Lagos. So when I came to Lagos after my secondary school, I didn't have all my papers. I needed to rewrite my WAEC. I needed to enroll. So I wrote both the internal and the external GCE. Internal in the secondary school, external GCE. And during that period, I was like idle. I was staying with my elder sister in Mafuluku, and I troubled her that I wanted to work. They looked for some job for me. The job didn't come out until one of the friends, the aunties, told me, "Come, there's a place that you can go and start to work somewhere. Shibi, you want to work?" I said, "Yes, I want to work." So they took me to a place where there's a security company called George Hunters. George Hunters recruited me and then along with other people and then posted me to Square Track, the same current location of Square Motors along the Oshodi Apapa Expressway. There I met somebody 2-3 months after I was on green, upon black and boot, and I was always at the gate. I was just 20 years old. I was always at the gate, pushing the gate, and because I was a little bit better than others, I had to write the numbers of vehicles that come in and go out, put at the time and all those things. So I was very strong. And this man drove in a Peugeot 304, very those old Peugeot, and he drove in, and I opened the gate for him. He drove in, and he stopped the vehicle, the driver, and beckoned on me to come and asked me, "Come." He told me, "Meet me in my office," and he happened to be the company of Square Track. So I went to see my supervisor at the gate to say, "Look, the personnel manager said I should come and see him." He said, What is he looking for? What is he asking? You did something wrong?" I said, "No, I didn't do anything." He said, "No, you must have done something wrong." I said, "No, I didn't do anything wrong." He said, "Okay, go and see him. Whatever happens to you, you are on your own." And I went straight to the man's office. He asked me, "Young man, how old are you?" I said, "I'm 20 years. He said, "What are you doing at that gate?" I thought he should know what I was doing at the gate. So I didn't know. I thought he should know what I was doing. He said, "Look, young man, you die in Lagos. At your age, you are pushing the gate. Where are you from?" I told him I'm from Edo State. He incidentally is from Edo State. He said, "Which town in Edo State?" I said, "I'm from Ogwa in Edo State." Now it's Edo State was in Bende State then. Ogwa in the current East and West. He said, "What are you doing at that gate?" He said, "You die in Lagos." He said it a second time, and the thing was ringing on my head. What is this trouble all about? He interviewed me and then concluded that I must leave the job and go home back to the village and go and meet my parents. I should go and study and go and read. If I don't go and read, I will suffer. You are going to suffer. You are going to be a failure I was so scared because the thing was ringing on my head. You will die in Lagos. I said, ah. So I went to my supervisor. I told my supervisor, because between the gate and the office, I had made up my mind that I was going because the advice was so direct. So I just told my supervisor, "Today is my last day in office here. I'm not working here again." He said, "Why? What's the problem? What did you do? What happened?" I just told him, "No problem. I was just advised and I'm not going to work here again. But don't mind, I'm not going immediately. I will wait till evening so that there'll be no gap in your work. I will work, push the gate till evening, but tomorrow don't expect me." That was how I left Lagos and went back to the village. I only came back 3 years later with my national diploma in mass communication, and I came back to the same man. So when I got back,
hold on, when you got back to the village, did they ask you what you came back for? Because you were already working as a security guard.
There's no telephone, no communication, so they just saw me back in the village. And I just told, my mother was very, very curious. So what happened? My father just spoke with me briefly, but my mother was more curious to say, "What happened?" I said, "Nothing. I just decided I want to come and study," and that I encountered somebody who spoke. He said, "Okay, don't worry. You have always said that you want to go to school. That's fine. Just settle down." And incidentally, that was the time I was able to get admission to through preliminary studies to study mass communication. Instead of 2 years, I did because of shortage of subjects. I told you I was studying to read, to study to make up for my papers. So, sorry. So
Okay.
we had a kind of family. They discussed with me. I told them this. I explained to them what happened. The only challenge I had was with my elder sister in Lagos, who was very angry that I want to abandon my 100 naira security job because my salary was 100 naira a month. And 100 naira was very big then. With 10 naira, you could buy a flight ticket as a student to Benin, to Nigeria Airways, for you to know the value of the money. So, but I settled down in the village, got admission. After 3 years, I came back and I was praying, let Mr. Patrick Olumese still be in that office. And luckily, he was still there. So I got to the office. He saw me and he remembered. I said, man, what happened to you? You just disappeared. Yes, I said I didn't waste my time at all. The following day, I was I was in Edo State because you die in Lagos. Up till now, it still rings in my head. I still hear the voice, and I didn't want to die in Lagos. I told him around the way, said, "What have you been doing?" And I told him, "Look at what I have done." I showed him my certificate. Wow, the guy, he stood up from his head, hugged me. I lay flat on the ground to greet him. Of course, the Yoruba culture had dropped on me with that short period I was there. I could see how elders are respected. And he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, I'm looking for a place to do internship if it is not possible to get a job. And I said, "No, what mass communication?" Say you get a place. His immediate junior brother is Sonala Olumese, the veteran journalist who was a member of the editorial board of The Guardian. But at that time, he was the editor of This Week newspapers. So he gave me a note on to Boys Corner along Bode Thomas in Surulere, where they had an office. So I went there, I saw him. He just looked at the note from his senior brother and told me, "This place is not good enough for you. You go to The Guardian. If you want to learn journalism, you go to The Guardian." He gave me a note to the news editor in Guardian. And that was bam. I met Tunde Thompson, Ndukai Rabo. And just to answer your question, I was just like trying to lay the foundation. The newsroom of The Guardian was the best. I don't know what it looks like now. As at that time, it was the flagship. I mean, if you wanted to be a journalist and you wanted to learn with the best minds, with people who are very serious, I'm talking about Femi Kusa, I'm talking about Lade Bonola, I'm talking about the current commissioner for information in Lagos State, Gbenga Motosho was one of my editors. We're talking of people who, when you get into that place, they bake you up. They will bake you. Even those things that followed you from your village will drop off when you get into the newsroom. So it was a place that news, excellence, people were, passion, they celebrated. And you wanted to just key in. Remember that The Guardian at that time, they were recruiting. Most of their recruits were from the convocation grounds. They actually send people to convocation grounds of the university to recruit first those who have second class and first class. In fact, I can mention all of them. First class materials, Kinsley Sadolo, Boyemobi, all of them that we met in the news. These were first, before you think, they give you the answer. The very excellent persons, individuals, professionals. And from the Polytechnic, you came to drop somebody who just had a diploma to come and learn. It was the best thing that happened to me in the building up of my journalism career. Job, people who were ready to go anywhere to get the stories. A media organization that pride itself in excellence, and they were the flagship of the Nigerian media. They were maintaining and protecting that image. That was the privilege I had. So after my 1-year internship, I was given a job and I was seconded to Guardian Express. Guardian Express is what you can call the current radio station of today, where stories break. If people wanted to know what has happened today, that was the paper they were going to pick up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Because the radio were just limited. It was just the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. There was no private radio station. So those guys were just doing their own and waiting till 4 o'clock until the news. But Guardian Express we were told, go out there, get the story. So I was introduced to political reporting, particularly judicial reporting, where we go to the courts to find out what's happening. And we're able to carry our coins in our bag, go to the phone booth, and send our reports. It was not an easy one. It's not as easy as you do today.
So you dictate the news. Somebody at the other end will be writing.
Yes, you say Ambrose, show me the, and they say it again. You say A for Abba, B for Bravo, R for River. So that the person gets the story. So you pick up your phone and you dictate to say a Federal High Court today has done this, the right, and they read it back to you to get the correct thing. Where I encountered very wonderful persons, very wonderful persons. Some people like Michel Obi. Michel Obi is one of the greatest minds you could find anywhere as a boss. He was my first editor. The late Adoniyi Onukabaojo, who was airport correspondent. I know that when he was on leave, each time he was on leave, I would be seconded to the airport to go and stamp for him. So we have bullies, people who would bully you to success. People like Undukaira. But there was a day I got to the office late because I was not going out. I was just coming in the afternoon. I didn't go out. They said I was going to stay till 10 p.m. So I came to the office around 2 to monitor other media houses. And as I just stepped into the newsroom, I saw Unduka Rabo, fantastic journalist, fantastic editor. But everybody knew that he can bully you to succeed. And he said, my friend, what are you doing in the newsroom this afternoon? I said, and he said, and you are here. He looked at me. I didn't know that I didn't dress properly. I was on a jean trouser, on a sneaker, and a top. For dressing properly as a journalist, he called me and asked me to go and meet Onyemobi, who was our correspondent, to go and bring a report from the vice president's office. Vice president was at home then. I didn't even understand what he was doing. And I looked at it. How will I go from around 3 o'clock to Abalende and then come back? He said, I have to go. So I left. So I went to Abalende. Before I could get to Abalende, it was around 5. In fact, Kingsley, the Onyemobi had already left that place. And I got to the Jordan Barras gate. And I met some very stern-looking officers with guns. And they said, my friend, what are you looking at? I said, I'm coming to see our correspondent. They look at me like this and said, one of them closed his eyes. I said, before I open my eye, disappear from here. I said, why? Why will you ask me to disappear? He said, disappear from here. The other one said, please leave. They will deal with you. I now ran. I was afraid to go back to the office, so I went home. The following day, I was coming shivering, and I was asking myself, what am I going to tell them? Tell Nukarabo that happened, that I didn't come back. I was so scared. So when I came back, I went to a meeting. He looked at me and said, how are you? I said, fine. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't come back yesterday because he said, did you go to Jordan Barras? I said, yes. He said, you went to Jordan Barras? I said, yes. He said, you are the most stupid person I've ever seen. I only sent you there because we were not properly dressed. I know they were going to deal with you at the gate there. That is the only place they would deal with you for, not dressing properly. I said, but why did you just tell me that I was not properly dressed? I said, no, if I tell you, it will not make any meaning to you. So you can imagine when over the years in the newsroom, I see journalists who do not. And the lesson in it is that as a journalist, you could be sent to go for any assignment upon your arrival in the newsroom.
Yeah.
And if you are not properly dressed, that you are shabbily dressed, you will not be able to represent the organization very well. So you must wear your tie, put on your dress properly, decently, such that they can take you out. So when we enforce that today in the newsroom, some persons will think, oh, you are just punishing them. But it is a fact that when you get to the newsroom several times, you are just told, take your pen, take your bag, go to so place, go and do that interview. Somebody is waiting for you at so place. Or there was a day I was told Nnamdi Azikiwe was going to Ikorodu to meet Abraham Adesanya, and that I needed to go to the airport because Onuka Baduniojo was not around or was on his way back. It's why they needed somebody to go to that place. And if I was not properly dressed, nobody is going to send you to go and meet a former president of Nigeria to do an interview or follow the convoy to or wherever the person is then for any interview. So there were certain lessons that we learned as we progressed into growing in journalism. And tying it back to your question, those were the experiences we had as young journalists in the newsroom. Dress properly, speak good English, and comport yourself. And there was something, again, I got away from the Guardian newsroom. Now, people talk about brown envelopes. I can tell you for free. One of those things that Femi Kusa and Lade Bonola instituted in the newsroom was that brown envelope was not good for a journalist who want to make headway. And it didn't restrict itself to the money, even the drink. They said we were very arrogant on the Guardian newspaper then because we attend the press conference. We do not wait for the meat pies, for the drinks. We just take the kits, the press release, ask our questions. When they are writing their names down on the list, they are writing journalists' names. We don't write. We just take it and go. It was very, very painful. Very, very painful because the salary then, how much was salary? 600 naira, 700 naira a month. And you could get extra 100 or 200 naira and you go. What they told us, to the best of their professional tutelage, the way they gave it was, run away from gifts, from gratifications, and that also was one of those things that made us to begin to look for other ways to raise money while we are working. While we are working, you have opportunity of looking for adverts, commercials, where you get commission legitimately. You have opportunity of doing publicity for people, advising them on what to do, consulting for them legitimately, and you are respected rather than you are given some gratification that will prevent you from thinking well. So who were our friends? Our friends were Alawa Kabasharu, Gani Fawahimi, Kaumi Shola Oshubu, people like Aolisa Agbakoba, junior people were coming up then, like Michael Zekome, those who were in the forefront of civil society. You could see the drive. That was how the drift to working hard to build society. We literally drank from their cups as journalists. So journalism was not just writing the story, it was an advocacy job. It was holding the government accountable. It was like working to contribute to society, to build society. We didn't have anything. There was nothing to show for it. It wasn't as if it was money. We were looking for money. We were just passionately pursuing the career in journalism. Later on, as responsibility came, we saw that we needed to also develop other things to be able to build up more finances and be disciplined with the little that we had. But now, then it was not something about money. It was just the passion to do the job and do it professionally and build a career.
All right, it is the weekend kickoff on Smailz Radio 98.7 FM. My guest this evening is veteran journalist and media consultant, Austin O'Hare. You practiced during the military era, and you saw it all. And there was a transition between the print, and then you moved to the electronic media. Tell us what the experience was like, especially. I know that you are one of the journalists who had the other side of the military during those late days or the early days, into the early days of democracy.
It was not structured, actually. It was not planned. It was not something that I planned. You recall that, and I was really enjoying my job, my work on the Guardian newspapers. I had the privilege of doing all that we needed to do in between, go to school to improve myself, do my HND, and come back and do my master's, all the degrees I've done them while trying to run around. When General Abacha shut down 19 media houses in a single day, Guardian was one of them. The Guardian was one of them. So it was like, he will reopen the place tomorrow. He will reopen the place tomorrow. He will reopen the place tomorrow. We were waiting 1 week, 2 weeks. It became a reality towards that. And one of my friends who was in FROCN was a versatile judicial correspondent for FROCN, for Radio Nigeria. Had already resigned from Radio Nigeria to join Ray Power. I didn't know anything about Ray Power. It was the background they were doing. They were preparing to come on air. And along with Alhaji Ladilawa, Kelly Elisha was my colleague on the judicial beat. I was reporting for The Guardian. He was reporting for Radio Nigeria. But we're living on the same street in Ijesha. So one day, he called me, and I went to see him. He said, "Look, Oga, you think Abacha will reopen The Guardian?" I said they will reopen. They said, "Look, you are joking. Better just carry your bag. Let's go to, there's a new radio station in town. I've moved to that place. Let me go and introduce you to the management, Ladilawa, and then you could be lucky." That was, and I didn't just argue with him, pick my bag reluctantly, because I didn't like 3-paragraph news. I want to write a full page. I mean, you go to a story, you write the full page. They will tell you the 2 pages are for you. Put your stories as long as you want. And when I got to Ray Power, Ladilawa welcomed me. They made recommendations, along with 6 others from Concord and from other newspapers. Shola Ayebola of blessed memory was one of them. And one of us, they took us in to string, just be a stringer until they open your newspaper. Because we thought that newspaper reopening was going to be like a weekend. But 1 year, 1 full year, we were busy stringing. And I started to learn broadcasting. I started to write shorter stories. And the allowances that Chief Raymond Dokwesi approved for us to work while our newspapers were shut down was actually 2 times more than what The Guardian was paying me. So first of all, I got more money. I got new experience. I started to learn. We were sleeping in the office, literally sleeping in the office, producing case file, which was a judicial report. We started political platform, which has gained so much traction around Nigeria today. We bet it. with the support of Ladilawa helping us to do all the things we needed to do when I became head of political desk. And the transition was so smooth that people thought, what happened? How could you have just transited from the print straight to radio? And luckily for us, just 2 years after the radios kicked off, the TV joined. So we had the privilege, and we are very few in Nigeria, very few of us in Nigeria who have had the privilege of doing print in a deeper way. We did it, do radio, and then do TV. So we just lucky to have passed through all of it. And along the line, we were doing our advertising on our own, producing scripts, advertising scripts, and doing public relations, being a very complete mass communication individual. That's why it was very easy for us to jump from one to the other, to move from one place to the other. But what has held us together is that journalism advocacy that made it possible for us to hold the society, make sure that what we are working for is the society and not individuals.
But the Guardian was opened after a while. Were you called back? Was there an urge to go back?
We had the open page to come back. When the Guardian was reopened after 1 year, I told Mr. Ladilawa, look, I'm going back to the Guardian. He looked at me, looked at my face, and said, "You are not serious. You want to go back to the Guardian? You have what the Great Power has done for you 1 year. Guardian in 10 years will not do it for you. The kind of exposure you get, the kind of stories you have, the kind of things you will do, they will not. You had better think it twice. But if you want to go, I'll give you time." So I told them, I went to our admin to tell them that I was taking time off. Mr. Oluwa Talegbe of blessed memory was the head of finance and admin. They said, okay, go, we'll give you 1 month. If you discover that you want to stay 1 month, if you discover that you want to stay back in the Guardian, fine. But if you want to come back, then we process formal employment for you. So I went back to the Guardian. I go back to the Guardian. Of course, the shock from the closure was visible everywhere. It was visible. We started work first week, second week. I told myself, I don't think this is the place. So I didn't stay till that 1 month. After 2 weeks, I put in my letter formally, resigned my job, and gave them 1 month in lieu, and then went back. Immediately they saw me, they said, welcome. In fact, it was that day that my employment letter was processed and I was given a formal employment to work for. So that was how I actually moved out. For good. For good, from the print to broadcast. And I had the privilege again to see TV when it came on. And I don't think it would have been as blossoming as it became, I mean, career-wise, if I were to remain on the Guardian newspapers. I don't think it would be as blossoming as it came out to be with Great Power and AIT that we had the privilege of working on. During that time, during that time, I also had the privilege of, because I was sent to Germany to go and train at Deutsche Welle when I was in Great Power, before even the TV came on. And I struck a contract, and I told my boss, they said, look, you can freelance for a foreign media if you want to, as long as it's not competing locally with us. And I had the privilege of also earning more money and stringing. After I came back for 1 month, I was reporting for Deutsche Welle and doing packages and doing reports for them. Even when I was posted to the villa, I was literally their villa correspondent. I was giving them reports about what was happening in Nigeria. So it was a very privileged opportunity that I had.
So during the last 30 years or thereabout of working with their communications, you pioneered a political platform, and that was like a flagship, but it wasn't so easy. you had your runs with the government and all of that. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. It was very. I must first of all give credits to Ladilawa of blessed memory, but more to the founding chairman of Dark Communications, uh, Chief Aleru Dokwesi, who stood by us like a pillar during the military regime. Because Ambrose, you were there, you saw what things that were happening. And because we were so passionate about doing our job and by affiliating ourselves with the civil society, the civil liberties organization, the campaign for democracy, the UAD, all those official NGOs that were around, the ASU was very, very critical, the NBA, all those organizations that came together, PENG, we were we were their vehicles. We were their vehicles. So apart from the regular news that we had the opportunity of setting up a political platform. Political platform was just 15 minutes. We wrap it up on what is happening. We present the facts. It was very, very difficult to pin you down because you're not going to tell a lie. You're going to say, this is what is happening. You do an analysis of it and make some projections. 15 minutes, you were off, but it was not an easy. Every day we were under threat. Every day we were under threat because the military sent people to infiltrate media houses. And they were also in AIT and Repower. Some of them confessed to us that, look, we are here to monitor what is happening. We knew them. I can mention their names. We later met in Abuja where they returned to their offices. They will call us privately and tell us, look, Oga, they will waste you. They will just waste you. After every episode, they will come. They see they will waste you. You guys, you don't understand what you are doing. You don't know the gravity. You cannot be calling a commander-in-chief and mentioning his name and saying he's doing things wrong. This is a commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria. So you have to be careful what you say on air, how you say it. And I think on two occasions, we were sacked in quotes, because the pressure was mounted on Chief Raymond Dokwesi that those guys, we don't want them in those establishments. And he will say, okay, Austin, Ambayo, Bodurin, just go home. I have told them that I have sacked you. Just go. You are not working here anymore. That is the picture I have painted to them. And if they hear your voice, they will think I've told them a lie. So go and cool down 1 week, 2 weeks, come back. Then you continue. Then we will come back because we will not even go away, because we'll just be around, we will not be doing anything because we can't even stay at home. Then we will now call them to say, okay, that they have cautioned us, they have told us. Then he will tell us, go ahead, and we'll come back. The same steam, the same energy, the same. So it was a circle of threats every day. Some of the journalists who got threats then, some of them then ever they didn't survive it. Bagat and Kato, some journalists disappeared, some were jailed. I mean, those are colleagues in the news. So this is why when they were giving national award the other day and they said they are giving them, and people were shouting, I said, oh, leave them. They may not go around every one of us. They may not know exactly what all some of us, but it also gladdens us to see some of our colleagues we were working with who were standing up for the truth, being remembered. Even if they don't even remember us, we're not even working to be remembered by anybody. God has already remembered some of us, so we don't even want any. What we are still advocating for is a better society, a society that would match up with what we thought we were fighting for. So that period was a very, very, very dangerous period for us, but we didn't even know the costs of the dangers, the risk we were taking, that we could actually die, we could actually disappear, but we were just doing our work and mobilizing people. If you see the popularity of political platform over the years, you will know that, okay, This was not a fluke. It was not something that just happened. These are people sat down. They were putting their lives on the line for society. With so many times, we were on the road with protesters, with trek all the way. I cannot count the number of times I trekked from Oshodi down straight. We were lucky along the line you get the transport, but at least up to Yanopaja, I did it like 2 times, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, because there were no transportation. It was like no work. They sit down at home, and the only people who could go out to report it are journalists who cannot even drive their cars if they had it. So but they have to be somewhere. It's like when the coup happened, like when we were on the Guardian and those coups that were happening. If the coup happened, you get up and you are going to your wife will tell you, where are you going to? Everybody's running home. You are going to say, what would I be doing at home? A coup has happened. We have to go to the office to report it for people to know what has happened. That is the lot of the journalists. People are running back, you are running in. And the era of the military, the era of those days where journalists really need to stand up. Remember, Ambrose, we were just the only radio station that was independent radio station. So the task was on us to do it good and better, so that everybody will have, the mobilization of society to support us was so high. When I say mobilization, the kind of accolades they commend us, they tell us you are doing very well. They were enough, more than a trillion naira that you would think about. We were not actually working to earn money. We didn't have money. We were just barely moving around, and what we had was just the passion to do the job and to help society, considering our background, where we are coming from, and the present, and then where we project that Nigeria is going to be.
Well, I need to put this out there. When the first list came out last year or so, I did a mail or a message to Bayo Onanuga, the presidential spokesperson, and I just wanted to put it on record that some of us were lucky to be alive.
Yes.
That the democracy that many people are enjoying today came on the blood and sweat of some people, unsung heroes. Haichi Vale, Dr. Siladi Dawa, you, Bayo Boduri, Kolade Alabi of blessed memory, me, Fact File, Political Platform, Mike Aroliba.
Yes.
I listed those and I said, well, let this be on record. It may not get to us, but just know that I didn't get an acknowledgement for that. But I think we again did something. Chris Wandu
Yes.
also did something on that. But just putting that there. Now we saw the transition to democracy. And you have been part of all of this, still doing political platform along with other programs. You've been involved in electoral election coverages and all of that. Are you satisfied with the governance that we have? And what does good governance look like in practice in Nigeria today?
You captured this very well when you said you wrote to. I also saw comments. I saw Chris Wandu's also a comment. I saw a few comments there. You see, governance is a continuum. I don't believe that the story of June 12 can be completely written by any government. It's going to be there was a Facebook page post I did on Prince Ademola Adeniji Adele of blessed memory. Prince Ademola Adeniji Adele spent 18 months in Kaduna prison for opposing Abacha. He possibly got his illness or whatever led to his death, just like Ambrose Ali those days, who probably, as a result of military detention, got his system, perforated by whatever happens. Now, it is not just the journalists alone like us who I would humbly say deserve to be acknowledged. There were even people out there who were actually, in the rich sense of the word, they went to prison. I was in Ekpetedo, one of the only journalists that was in Ekpetedo during the Ekpetedo declaration, courtesy of Adeniji Adele. He organized the Ekpetedo declaration. Anybody who has a contrary opinion can tell me, can bring it out. Prince Ademola Adeniji Adele was chairman of Lagos Island local government. 1992, thereabout, and we encountered at 91, 92, and we encountered ourselves, and it was like we were born by the same father and the same mother. And I followed him. He eventually got arrested and taken to Kaduna prison, where he spent 18 months. I have not read about any award, whether posthumous or anything, for him. So that's why I would not even worry myself. I was lucky that I wasn't killed. We had brushes with very threats that came to our lives, and we sweated. We ran from one pillar to post. We were hiding in some places, and thanks to Raymond Dokwesi, who protected us officially, gave us some cover, and Ladilawa, and the dexterity, the kind of resilience that we built amongst ourselves, you and the others who were in that field across the other media houses. So, yes, we have seen we saw it, and it moved to 1997, 1998, after the sudden deaths of those who were in the Abiola and Abacha, and transition happened. Now, when that transition happened, I was moved to Abuja to follow President Obasanjo into the villa as the State House correspondent. So I saw the first workings of the democratic rule in the villa right from the beginning. For about 3-4 years, I saw it. I saw the effort that were made. What went wrong, I must confess to you, I must tell you, and which is a regret in the civil society community today, is that those who piloted the affairs of the civil rule, who actually fought, who campaigned, who were on the street, who suffered, when the time came for them to come together, when parties were being formed, they still saw themselves as, is it not good enough? Maybe, or not ready, maybe, or that it is not for us, it is for them. They didn't go into politics. Ambrose Shomide, you didn't go into politics. You were just contented doing your reporting and all that. Agbons Remi, we just continue. So, okay, let us even say we were just a journalist. What about those who were in the civil society? People like Olisa Agbakoba, people like Clement Wankwo, people like Bekor and Sonkuti, we know what happened to him. People like Ozekome, people like Abdul Oro, who later went into politics and became a house of. We were just onlookers. It's a big regret in the community that if we had taken the steps forward to present ourselves, to be part, even if we are not contesting elections, even appointments, for us to be interested. No, we're not interested. We're just saying, we thought that this job of advocacy and continuing to fight government is a permanent job for us. So, in quote, the thieves took over. They came in, they just came in and discovered that the space was open, and they have taken over. For you to contest an election now from the civil society is like putting the head of a camel through the eye of a needle. It would have been easier then for us to go in, and we would have also probably be successful in diluting the corruption that is currently pervasive around Nigeria today. So good governance, as you ask, is still very, very far from us. What is good governance? I'm speaking to you from Canada today. I'm a Canadian citizen, and one of the fallouts of this quagmire that we found ourselves, that many people got frustrated and started to look for solutions elsewhere. From the description I gave to you about my schooling, it was not something that I conceived that my children were going to go through that process. So I had to move my family as early as 2009, 2010 out of Nigeria to come and get the best of education at York University, University of Toronto, and all those things, paying heavily for them to get it. So it was not like many people who are outside today want to come and stay outside. I have come back to Nigeria, no doubt about that. I've come back in the last couple of years, and it took a lot of energy and a lot of personal decision you have to put in it to say you want to get back, because that's your country, that's where we know that's your home. So the democracy we are seeing today is very, very, very far from what we are seeing. I was taking a walk at the park here the other day, and I was almost shedding tears. Look at the provisions here. Even me, as somebody who is above 60, I get alerts because I am a Canadian citizen. I'm entitled to certain things that government will give to me. I can walk into any office here and say, this is my identity, this is my security, national security number, a social security number, this is what I'm entitled to, and they welcome me and give it to me because I am a citizen of Canada. Now, when are we going to get to Nigeria? When are we going to get to that level in Nigeria where the unborn baby, my grandson, the latest of my grandson, the doctor, the nurse, they came to the house, come with their scale, come with their equipment, come with the ambulance to come and check a newborn baby. They take the weight, they take the blood, they do all the quick tests and everything. They look at where the baby is sleeping, they look at the environment, and they give the parents a pass mark to say, yes, a Canadian born here can survive in this place. That is a baby that is just born. For the others, you are entitled to. So when are we going to get? I'm not saying that we should jump and be like Canada, but there are some bases. We have a lot of resources in Nigeria, so much resources. Every local government in Nigeria, 774, can produce distinct things. We have things that we can do, either it's tourism or it's mineral or whatever thing we can do. If you ask each local government to say, what is it that is best for you? If you dance, you want to dance. If that is the best you can do, we'll call the world to come and watch your dance. We have it.
Right, let's just hang it there. I'll be back with you. We'll just quickly do the news. We will have an extended version maybe for another 15 minutes. We'll quickly do the news. We've gotten to 6 o'clock. We'll do the news. And I'll come back. We'll be talking about Primum, why you started the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development. We'll talk about your doctoral studies, what you are studying, among others. My guest this evening is Austin O'Hare Bosforemi, veteran Nigerian journalist and civil leader with about 30 years experience on the job. And we've been talking for the past 1 hour. So we'll do the news and then we'll come back. Stay with us on Smailz Radio 98.7 FM.
Smailz Radio, quality music and information you can use. News on Smailz Radio.
Good evening. Here is Smailz Radio 98.7 FM News, brought to you by Lucy Eminki. President Bola Tinubu has commissioned new infrastructure in Abuja's Wasa district to support the informal sector as part of efforts to promote inclusive urban development. Represented by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, the President said that the project aligns with the Renewed Hope agenda. The new facilities, including roads, electricity, and water supply, are expected to improve the operations of artisans, mechanics, and traders. The All Progressives Congress is holding a meeting in Abuja to formally unveil Vice President Kashim Shettima as President Bola Tinubu's running mate for the 2027 presidential election. The move is expected to end months of speculation over a possible change to the party's vice presidential ticket, with senior APC leaders confirming that President Tinubu has renominated Shettima. The federal government has evacuated 39 more Nigerians from Johannesburg, South Africa, on an emergency Air Peace flight arranged for citizens who missed yesterday's evacuation. Foreign Affairs Minister Bianca Odumegwu Ojukwu said that the additional flight was organized to ensure the smooth continuation of the evacuation exercise. She also added that another flight carrying about 300 more Nigerians is expected to arrive in the country next week, reaffirming the government's commitment to the safety of Nigerians abroad. The Lagos State government has issued a query to a sanitation officer following the viral video allegedly showing him receiving a 20,000 naira bribe from a suspected environmental offender. Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, said that a personnel management board will investigate the incident, stressing that the state maintains a zero-tolerance policy on corruption. He also added that any officer found guilty of misconduct will face disciplinary action in line with the Lagos State Civil Service rules and regulations. The Ogun State Environmental Protection Agency, OGEPA, has called on industries across the state to comply with environmental regulations and adopt sustainable practices to protect the environment. During a familiarization tour of the industrial facilities, the agency urged companies to support tree planting initiatives, properly manage hazardous waste, install functional wastewater treatment systems, and obtain the required environmental permits. OGEPA also encouraged industries to strengthen staff training on environmental management, while industry representatives commended the agency for promoting collaboration towards sustainable development in Ogun State. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has presented a proposed 1.85 trillion naira 2026 budget, tagged Budget of Resilience for Growth and Development, to the State House of Assembly. The proposal represents a 24.5% increase over the 2025 budget and is driven by higher FAC allocations and improved internally generated revenue. Governor Fubara also announced the 50% increase in overhead allocations for ministries, departments, and agencies to address rising operational costs and clear outstanding salary arrears owed to civil servants. The Edo State Police Command has announced a statewide restriction on movement from 12 midnight today to 3 p.m. tomorrow to ensure the peaceful conduct of the local government elections. The police said only electoral officials, accredited observers, journalists, security personnel, emergency workers, and other essential service providers will be exempt from the restriction. The command also warned that anyone found violating the order or attempting to disrupt the electoral process will face the full weight of the law. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has arraigned an alleged drug kingpin, 3 Mexican nationals, and 6 others over an illegal drug laboratory uncovered in the forest in Ogun State. The suspects pleaded not guilty before the Federal High Court in Lagos. The court ordered their remand and adjourned the case to July 16th and July 22nd for trial and hearing of their bail applications. NDLEA Chairman Mohammed Mawar described the case as a major breakthrough against international drug trafficking. The Federal High Court in Abuja has upheld the authority of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, to investigate consumer complaints over airline ticket prices. The court dismissed the suit filed by Airpeace, ruling that the Commission's investigations do not amount to price regulation, but are part of its legal mandate to protect consumers. The FCCPC also welcomed the judgment, saying that it only seeks to investigate complaints and gather facts, and not fix or regulate airline fares. Meanwhile, airport taxi drivers have protested the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria's directive requiring all airport cabs to be 2020 models or newer. The drivers say that they cannot afford the vehicles, which they claim cost over 18 million naira, citing the country's economic hardship. They have appealed to President Bola Tinubu and fellow Nigerians to intervene, while the protesters expressed concerns over FAN's planned introduction of an app for airport taxi operations, urging authorities to reconsider the policy. On the foreign news, a military court in Guinea-Bissau has remanded opposition leader Domingos Simios Pereira in prison over allegations of involvement in attempted coup and financial crimes. Pereira, leader of the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, had been under house arrest after his release in January. He denies the allegations linked to failed coup attempts in 2023 and 2025. Labour politician Andy Burnham has moved closer to becoming the United Kingdom's next Prime Minister after securing the backing of 322 Labour MPs in the party's leadership race. Burnham is currently the only declared candidate and needs just one more nomination to make it impossible for another contender to enter the contest. If unopposed, he is expected to be confirmed as Labour leader next week and will take office as Prime Minister on July 20. On the sports news, the 2026 Nigeria Women Football League Championship gets underway on Saturday at the UJ Estuene Stadium in Calabar State with two Group A fixtures. Mahi Babes will face Delta Babes in the opening match at 9 a.m. before Dream Stars Ladies will take on Rosaria Victories at 11:30 a.m. The competition brings together clubs from across the country battling for promotion to the Nigeria Women Football League. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has selected Nigerian referee Yemisi Akintoye as one of the match officials for the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. Akintoye, a FIFA referee since 2021, earned the appointment after passing CAF's medical fitness and technical assessments. It will be her first time officiating at the continent's biggest women's football tournament. The WAFCON 2026 finals will hold from July 26 to August 16 in Morocco, with Nigeria Super Falcons heading into the tournament as defending champions. Spain winger Lamine Yamal says that he hopes to face defending champions Argentina in the final of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, with a dream of playing against Lionel Messi and swapping shirts after the match. Spain will take on Belgium in the quarterfinals today, while Argentina will face Switzerland on Sunday for a place in the last four. And that was Smailz Radio 98.7 FM News. Keeping you informed, I am Lucy Eminike. Thank you for listening. Keep listening to Smailz Radio 98.7 FM. Good evening.
Get motivated. Live, love, learn, and lead. Listen to Smailz Radio.
Smailz Radio 98.7 FM. Enriching the world.
We can kick off with Brozuma.
That's right.
All right. So good to be back. And I must say, sorry for keeping our guest waiting on the line all through.
Okay.
And that he's back with us. We left on the point where you were expressing some kind of regret and mixed with frustration with the system and comparing what we have here with what you've experienced in Canada. You said you left because you didn't want your children to go through what you went through, experience what you went through, especially when the expectation or the reality wasn't meeting the expectation at the onset, of democracy and all of that. That was the point of left off. Maybe we take it from there.
Yeah, I just summarize it. The fact is that many Nigerians are dissatisfied with the system. The Nigerian structure, I call it a racket. I call the Nigerian structure, the Nigerian system, a racket. That racket was put together in 1914 by the British to further their commercial and political gains. Unfortunately, we didn't disentangle from it when we took over governance in 1960, and when we formed government, became a republic in 1963. We didn't disentangle from that racket. What happened was that a people who were on their own They have no reason to be together. They over 250 different ethnic groups. They had no reason to be together. Were brought together by the colonial masters. That was not the offense. That was not a problem. The problem is that by the time they were leaving, we should have sat down to ask ourselves, how do we live together? What form of government is better for us? They decided on the parliamentary system, regional thing, which was fantastic, which left governance at the regional level, at the ethnic level, and then you had representatives at the federal level to do some of the national things. In Canada, the structure is confederation. Confederation means that the federal government is solely responsible for only 4 things. They do defense, they do immigration, they do currency, and they do foreign affairs. Every other thing you can imagine, from roads to education to resource control, everything is done by the provinces. They determine what they want to do. So you could leave Ontario and you move to Saskatchewan, where I am now, and the world is different. The salary structure could even be different. The minimum wage could even be different. What the government is going to provide for you could even be different. In where I am now, international students are entitled to that. You get admission in my province, you are entitled to free medical care. Your card takes you in the bus, but you cannot find that in some other provinces. Now, what happened in Nigeria was that we came together and we didn't know what to do with each other. We have been going in this darkness for the length of the years we have stayed since 1960. We have not had a government that a set of leaders that come. Them, the earlier generation, we can say they did their best, but their best were not good enough. The generation of Nahoro and all the other ones that came, they attempted to come with the Patriot form. Can we have a national conference? These national conferences that the people have been talking about, the one that have been held halfway, haphazardly, it's actually the solution to our problem. Look, we can stay and live together, but we must determine what we want to do together. And we must determine what we should not do together. We don't need to set up a Christian Pilgrim Welfare Board because Muslims have set up a Hajj board. The Muslim Pilgrim Welfare Boards that they also have. We duplicate it in the South when we do not need it. So we take money from the post and take people to Jerusalem because people who have a religion that legitimately ask them to go to Mecca because they are also going to Mecca. So we also want to go to Jerusalem. We pump out our money. In Kano today, you have about 2,000-3,000 people who are getting married on the bill of the government. They say they don't want people to stay idle, so they put 2 and 2 together. Come and register if you want to marry, we sponsor your marriage. We don't do that in Ogun State. We don't do that in Edo State. We don't do that in Anambra State. There are things that are distinct. For them, they are entitled to it. They have entitled to do whatever they want to do with their resources. We should not query them. But are we together? We are not together. We have forced ourselves to be together over these years. We have managed to think of how to solve the problem. We are not solving the problem, and we are pretentiously following it. Even the current government that says, because the APC government, if you remember, Ambrose, we said the first item on the manifesto of the APC in 2014, 2015 was restructuring. Restructuring. He said it will restructure Nigeria. Buhari came for 8 years. He didn't touch that first item. We have an APC government now, have been there since 2023. They are shying from talking about it. Yes, there are a lot of things that are happening. The president has used some executive orders, free local government, but the governors have said local government cannot be free. I saw Makinde, governor of one of the states in the West, saying it is not possible for local governments to be free. Even if you write 5 executive orders, it will not be. A Supreme Court delivered a judgment that local government should be autonomous. But the fact is that the unitary system we have set up in Nigeria, flowing from the military and the kind of things that we did after the fall of the First Republic, has put Nigeria in a quiet. You cannot look, in all honesty and sincerely, Nigeria does not have a place you can predict that in 20, 40 years' time, that this country will remain, because we continue to do things that will not make us to remain. So until we are able to come together, and Ambrose, do you want your generation to not to have hope, not to have a fallback position? Some of us don't feel so. We may be optimistic that things will work well. We are working hard to get things to work well. But behind our mind, we know that things are not working well. And that it will be very, very, look, your children will go to your grave. And I always tell them, they'll go to your grave and say, this is the grave of our father who didn't take decisions for us when he knew he saw what is going to happen. He didn't create opportunity for us. If you like, you are so wealthy in Nigeria today, you are not sure if that wealth is going to be transferred to your generation.
So what are you advocating?
I'm advocating. It's very straightforward. We should sit down. We should sit down and honestly sit down and determine how we should live together. I'm an advocate of a big Nigeria, a Nigeria that is united, but we must decide how we are going to live together. We cannot have the same. Look, even animals, they have their kingdoms. You do not put the lion is caged. You put the lion in a cage. You do not say, if you put all of them together, it will be animal kingdom. That is what we have is the rule of the strength, the survival of the fittest. That is what we have in Nigeria. It cannot work. What we should do is to sit down. If we are honest enough, we need somebody, and the only person that can do it in Nigeria today, by the structure of what we have in Nigeria today, the only person that can do it is the president and commander-in-chief. And I tell them, if I were president of Nigeria today, if I happen by any error of commission or omission, I find myself as president, the first thing I'll do, I will invite the key stakeholders, the governors that are elected, key members of the National Assembly, the principal officers, those who traditional rulers. I'll take them to Asoro. I'll lock the door and say nobody gets out of this place until we find a solution to our problem. Nobody is going to live here alive until we agree how we are going to live. I will hold a mini conference amongst us, and then we take it to the people and decide what we want to do. The way it is now, Nigeria is structured to fail, and it is failing. We are just managing the failure. We are just managing the failure of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is not that anybody is putting any block to make it not to collapse. We are just managing it on. We have not had a leader who will come up and tell us the truth and say, this is the way we must go. Because there are so many factors, both internal and external factors. Their economy, the mineral resources, corruption, the religion, the ethnicity. There are so many that when you are dealing with one, another one is popping. We need to sit down and ask ourselves, do we need to stay together? And if we agree we are going to stay together, which is what I advocate for, then we should decide how do we stay together. Until we do that, people will continue to run. In fact, some of us, we are lucky that I can still come and see my children and my grandchildren. In the coming generations, they will not even come back because they don't have any reason to come back. We must provide reasons for the millions of Nigerians outside to want to come back. And until we do that, we will be chasing chasing a mirage. We'll be running against the waves if we think that one day they will just carry their bag and they will just come back. And we have all of them, excellent professionals. I go to, during summer now, on Saturday, I go out to go and do sports and games, and you see hundreds of thousands of young Nigerians, professionals, ICT, bankers, all of them, they have all left, they are all here. How do you get them back if you do not have good governance? So anybody who is telling me that, don't worry, we are praying, and one of the biggest problems we have, Ambushomide, is prayer. We pray too much. They don't pray here. They do it. We are asking God to come and do what God has left for us to do. It's like you, as a father, you have provided all the money. Your wife has prepared food. They are on the table. And your children are calling you to come and put the food in their mouth. That's what we are doing to God.
All right.
So my advocacy is for us to sit down, no matter how you think about it, until we sit down and determine what we want to do with ourselves, we will not be able to go forward. We do not have need for bicameral legislation in Nigeria. We don't need Senate, House of Representatives. We don't need 36 states. We don't need all those ones. Canada is bigger than Nigeria 11 times. That is the size of Canada is Nigeria times 11. You can fly in Canada for 8 hours non-stop. They have 10 provinces and 3 territories. So we must tell ourselves the truth that we need to go the way of dialogue, sit down and decide, and we'll be better for it.
All right, let's talk about Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG, Nigeria and Canada. Why did you set out to establish that or set it up?
Yeah, it was necessary for me to establish a platform. I have been part of platforms like Media Rights Agenda. I have been part of the platform of Civil Liberties Organization by the side. And I thought that we should do something differently. Rather than criticize like I've always done, can we put something together that will bring facts to the public? Can I use my journalism, my media exposure to mobilize Nigerians to go out there and vote, to tell them that collecting 5,000, 10,000 and a bag of rice and some pieces of clothes will not solve their problem? Can I talk to government that, look, there's corruption in this place, what are you doing? What are you doing about it? I've used political platform, my journalism practice and all this to do, but I just thought as I was easing myself out of the mainstream media and running around, that we should be able to set up an organization that will outlive us, that people will see what you have done. And in Canada, when I came here, I stayed here for a stretch of over 4 years. And I also saw some gaps. Yes, we're advocating for good governance in Nigeria, but good governance is already here. We already have good governance here. They don't think of anything other than how to better society. But Canada is made up of everybody in the world. Everybody. There's no part of this world that is not in Canada. You will find the Indians, the Chinese, you will find Africans, you find everybody here. So one of the challenges is multiculturalism. How do we stay together? How do we live together and how can we marry ourselves and be brothers and sisters, despite the fact that we have, if you meet anybody here, the first question they ask you, you are originally from here? They would ask, you are originally from here? Oh, I'm originally from Nigeria. Oh, my father or my grandfather is originally from Germany or from India or from Jamaica. They tell you all those things. Everybody have got a background. Everybody in Canada, almost everybody in Canada, apart from the Aborigines, are immigrants. So that was why we also tilted towards building multiculturalism, coexistence, and reducing and fighting the racism from that is very, very ripe in America. Because America is so close to Canada that you see racism walking on the street in America, but you don't find it here. We don't want it to get here. We have to build up multiculturalism to prevent people from really claiming superiority over others so that we can work. But for Nigeria, PRIMOG is working to build good governance, and that's also why I've taken a PhD in governance and public governance and leadership. Because I could have taken a PhD in Canada, and I will have offers. And if I have an offer to do PhD here, what am I going to be researching on? On multiculturalism? I think Nigeria needs me in research on our problem more than Canada needs me. That was why I had to come back to the University of Abuja to take up a program in public governance and leadership, which I'm currently researching, because we need to take the gown to the streets in governance. And we need to be able to build a system where government and the people are put together to pursue the same objective and goal. They already have achieved that in Canada here. And I thought for my own conscience, I needed to come back, do a study, get a research that will also make some suggestions on how we can improve our governance structure in Nigeria.
You already answered the question I was going to ask, because I was going to ask what you were researching on for your PhD. And now that we already have an idea about that. Now, if you could change anything and one thing about Nigeria, civic or media ecosystem tomorrow, what will that be?
I will still remain with leadership. I will still remain with changing the mindset of leaders, changing because that solves almost all the problems. If you are talking about media, you are talking about the hospital, you are talking about the roads, you are talking about everything you want to talk about Nigeria, it revolves around leadership. If I have the privilege to change things tomorrow, it is to make those who are currently in the leadership to swallow the pill of doing the good for the people and making them understand that their existence makes no meaning if they do not work in the interest of the citizens.
All right. In all of this, from the backwaters of Jesha,
Yes.
to the village and through the Guardian, through that communication, and now to Canada and all of that. Any regrets? Any one day that you say, "Oh, this is the most painful day. This is something that I regret in all of this journey. I wish I could have done this thing, done something better, or I wish this could have been done this way."
Yeah, as much as one is not infallible, you do not have the answers to all the questions, and you judge your own self and say, look, maybe something should have been done here, or something should not have been done here. I think one of the regrets I have is that it is not just me now, we didn't participate in political, we didn't participate in the struggle for power when we should have. I'm 64, going 65 now. I wonder who is going to listen to me now. I mean, what energy do I really have now because whether you like it or not, we have crossed our half age. Because if you are 65, you only need to add 20 to it to answer your question. How long you still be useful to yourself even if you are still alive? So one of the regrets is that we didn't take participation as seriously as we should have taken it when we were young. We were also handicapped. That's why I could not blame us for so much. But the vision was not really there. We didn't have that clear vision to say, look, we need to enter into them. Enter it. We were going to we were going all over the place. I remember that Abraham Adesoya called me in his chamber and said, war politics. Are you not interested in? I said, no, sir. I'm just a journalist. I'm okay. I know that somebody like Chief Gani Fahimi said, look, you need law. Come and study law. Just do it part-time so that you have the strength to enter to. I said, no, I was just okay with journalism. Some of those things, I look back as if I have the privilege to live again, maybe I would have, in the last 30 years, would have found a way to be interested in what they are doing, encourage people of like minds like Ambrose Shomide to say, look, go to your constituency, pick up a card, join a political party, and begin to influence what is happening. Because all the regrets we have now is because we didn't really present ourselves to participate in politics in Nigeria. And that's why we are encouraging those who are still strong, those who are still able to do it. You can see all of them, from the Senate to the president to all the people in the national. Look at all of them. Who really cares about Nigeria? Everybody is just on their own. So the passion that we had, which we use in practicing journalism, if we have put it into politics, would have created a difference.
How will you read the media in all of this journey since 1998? Have we done so well?
We've done the best that we could do, but there are challenges. We have not done as much as we could have done. Remember that before that date you mentioned, before 1998, the media houses were actually the vehicles. There were no phones. There were no internet. They were in fact, media houses were advocacy grounds. Are we still advocacy grounds now? No. The media houses are struggling. Part of my study in Primong is models for sustainability of the media houses. How do they sustain themselves? When we were in Lagos, we were just one radio station. Now, I believe Lagos should be having over 40 radio stations. How are they surviving? Where is the advert coming from? The newspapers are almost all flat. There's no one single newspaper today, maybe Punch, that can print 5,000 copies. That can print 5,000 copies. Because the copies are in our phones anyway, so it is not a sin not to produce so many copies. But the life of advertising revenue source of media houses have gone down, is depolarized, shared, and it is not one that you want to compare to when in the 80s and in the 90s, when the press the press media was just in the forefront of mobilizing citizens. You can see what the social media is doing. People would rather call on a very dark man now to say, this is my challenge, this is my problem, rather than walk to the newsroom. Because the media has left a gap that the social media has quickly overtaken. And coupled with the challenge of financing, paying salaries, buying equipment, running 24 hours, and paying diesel and paying for diesel and all those things, or if you want to use inverter, you have to spend. It is a big challenge for the media. So if you ask me, I will still give them a pass mark. They are doing very well with a lot of challenges.
Now, as we begin to round up, is there any Nigerian, dead or living, that you will want to possibly meet again, sit down with again, to have a conversation?
Gani Fawayimi. I spoke with him just a few days before he couldn't talk because he had cancer of the throat, and his voice disappeared with time. And he's one person that I saw that was passionate about Nigeria. He's somebody I would have loved to sit down with and say, how do you, probably if he were alive now, he would be a very old man. My dad at 71, and he would be a very old man. But I wish we can take time back and sit down with him, and we reflect and tap from that his unyielding energy that he had. Sometimes I wonder where he got those energies from. Because I was not the only one close to him. So many people were close to him. If you ask Richard Akinola, if you ask all of them, all the people who encountered him, they will tell you that there's something that was special about Chief Gani Fawayimi. It's one person that I really seriously miss as I was also growing older, somebody that I would have sat down with to say, look, have reflections on what happened, how did you see it, what is happening around, and hear him talk about it.
All right, at 65, what keeps you hopeful about Nigeria, about the world that we live in? You have Israel, Iran, the US at war. You have wars happening all over Africa, famine, hunger. What keeps you hopeful about life?
I think it's personally sourced. I mean, you need to be optimistic. You need to raise your head above the waters, despite the mirage of challenges that you've seen. Sometimes when I'm flying, because I take a flight, I'm an ardent Ethiopia loyalist. I fly 16 hours from Addis Ababa to Toronto. And from Toronto to where I am now, it's about 4 hours of flight. So each time I'm airborne and I'm flying, I'm imagining where the wars are, what could possibly happen before we come down. The uncertainty around the world is so much. But even then, the advancement in technology is awesome, it's amazing. You see what people do. There are restaurants here now that there are robots serve food. Robots. You sit down, the robot come to your chair to deliver your food to you. The technology and the cars are being driven by Uber is experimenting with driverless cars in Toronto already. Your car pulls back in your house, you get a call and you get in there. There's nobody there, and you just go in there. It reminds you to put your seatbelt. It reminds you to ask you if you need a drink. If you tap back there, there's water there. It reminds you to ask you which music you want, and play music for you as the driver and the car drives along with nobody inside. The technology is amazing. That's what gives me hope. That sometimes it will come to a point where this corruption, the greed that we are talking about, will be leveled, and people are so moving. People are so moving. The choice to move. If Nigeria is not doing well for you, if South Africa is not doing well for you, if Canada is not doing well for you, have another country you want to go to, you move on. And how long are we actually going to be spending here? So if people are not serious, people will leave them behind and move on to places where they will find serious. That is my own take about it. I want to see Nigeria move, and I am optimistic Nigeria will move forward, and solutions will come to some of the challenges that we have, and I will learn our lessons. But how long it will come, whether it's in our lifetime, I am not sure.
Your country of origin, where you are originally from, didn't qualify for the World Cup. Your country, where you now reside, got knocked off the World Cup.
Yes, we made a lot of progress because we advanced to the past experience. We didn't get to the stage that we got to now before we got knocked off, and it was well celebrated here. We are happy that. Well, you remember that Canada is not a football country. We have our games here that we play, and they are crazy about the kind of soccer that they play here. So the one we call football back in Nigeria is not principally a game, but we are edging in. America is the same. It used not to be their game. So, and let me also correct it. Nigeria remains my first country. We didn't qualify. We didn't qualify for it. It's painful that we didn't qualify for. I would have loved a situation where Nigeria is playing with Canada, and I would be so excited to watch that kind of one. But for Canada, they are making progress with football, which they call soccer, and we believe that in the next couple of years they will improve in their tactics and be able to advance beyond where they are now. They are making a lot of movement. Back home, my Nigeria, we falter, we go back, go front 7 steps and go backward 8 steps. And we are not able to put ourselves together to play the game, despite that we have the best of talents around the world to come back home and play. A situation where, Ambrose, where we want to play, almost everybody. I like what the NFA did at some point, that they needed to include home base into the teams. A situation where we have given up on developing football locally, so we have to depend on our teams, our players outside who are playing for almost the entire team. Would bring them from abroad to come and play. It's not a good thing for us. We need to develop football at home. Yes, our citizens who are playing outside can support us. They can come in here, but it should be competitive. So it should be such a way that they will say, if you bring the guy from Eyimba or from Rangers, they can match anybody. But will they stay in Nigeria? Will they stay? How much are you going to pay them to stay back? Because if they are good, it means they are out. The meaning of being good footballer in Nigeria is that you are out, you are playing out there. Because if you are good enough, then a team will pick you up. So why don't we develop ourselves in such a way that people can come from other places can come to Nigeria and play in our teams? That is the challenge. It's part of the same whole challenge we are talking about. Leadership.
We've eaten into the time of the another program, but I should ask,
you so much.
You're researching. Your PhD is in public governance and leadership. Yes. And we're in the age of AI. How is AI affecting research and study? Whereby you have to read books, you have to go to the libraries. Now you can sit in the comfort of your home and then you just tell AI to do things for you. How is that affecting research?
It's actually aiding research. ChatGPT, AI, all of it, they are actually aiding research, because why do you want to? Let me ask Ambrose.
Mm.
You can see that my hair now is smooth.
Mm.
I don't go to barber shop. I just take the modern clippers and take it on my head. And why do I need to go to a barber shop if I can barb so easily and it's as fine as it is looking? So if you are going to do research and AI is going to assist you to get what you want, why not? But it doesn't stop you from doing comparative analysis, because your literature review, you need to look at what has happened in the past. And no one, those days you sleep and sit down in the library and sleep nights and days to get what AI will give you in 2 seconds. So it's actually aiding research. And what we need to do is for us to be in charge of the research, be in charge of it, tilt it and tailor it, because it's the question you ask that you get answers to. So I think the technology is aiding it, and it is not a disadvantage at all. I hear that some universities are preventing some students from using those technology. But of course, there is the turn it in that you can do, because if their AI tools are being developed to see if those things were strictly things that are just garbaged in by the tools of technology. So to check so that students can even read. And the idea is that when you have a proposal, you should be able to stand and defend it. If you have a thesis you have prepared, you should be able to stand during Viva and defend it and say, this is what you think, and go out to the feed. AI is not going to go to the feed for you. I'm in the feed now. I'm doing research in the feed. Nigeria, AI will not go to the feed for you. I have over 100 people I'm talking to on the issues. I have to meet them and talk to them and come and analyze and say, this is what they said. This is the preponderance of the view. This is the answer. The lawyer said this. This one said, the administrator, the sociologist said this. So it is really aiding rather than saying that it is frustrating or making it impossible for people to study. Those who want to study will still study. And PhD is not for everybody anyway. It's not a PhD or a master's degree program. It's not for everybody. It's a matter of choice. If you know you are not serious, you don't want to do the research, you don't need to bother into it. I'm doing it because I just want to do it, not because it's going to maybe add some money to my pocket anymore. But yes, it's something that you want to leave behind and say, this is what I did. I think if society takes these steps, we will be able to improve governance. And look at an aspect of it that really bothers you. You take it and then you work on it, do a study, and present it to the professors who are supervising you and the school authorities. And good enough, Abuja is organizing public presentation of a thesis from the Abuja Leadership Center where I'm doing my PhD. So if you have a good work, they will organize, put the entire work together for you to present, call the relevant industries together for you to present what you have found out. 3 years of study to make them know that there's a solution that you have developed.
All right. I must say a big thank you. We've done about 2 hours on this journey together. And I think I woke you up earlier today to say, can we have this conversation, say some 6 hours from now, and you are ready for me. Thank you very, very much.
Well, you know, Ambrose, Ambrose, I cannot refuse. I cannot refuse. But we'll be in the feed together, and I'm glad that you're doing very well in your own area, setting up a beautiful radio station for Lagosians. And I believe that what you did, I remember all those things you did in Red Power, and from OGBC that you came into Red Power, and all those experiences. It would have been very, very painful if they were lost and you are not going to be able to do something for you. So we are very glad. I am glad that you're able to put this together. So it's always a pleasure anytime. I wish that we can get some funding at the level of Primong, because we also do that when we're doing advocacy, and we have some funding to campaign for particular projects like anti-corruption campaign that we did for about 6 years. The MacArthur Foundation supported us with nearly $1 million to do research, to do campaign and do a lot of things. we should be able to patronize local radio stations to be used to reach people in their languages that they understand, and in the ways that we can really assist you. So if this is the little that we can do, we will do it all over again if you call me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. One thing stands clear from our conversation, from the work that you have done. Good governance is not a spectator sport. It is, a journey that involves, or should involve, all of us. Thank you very much again for coming on the weekend kickoff on Smailz Radio.
Thank you so much.
All right, and bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So there you have it. Good governance is not a spectator sport. It's journey from the newsroom of The Guardian in 1987 to the front lines of civil engagement through PREMAC reminds us that accountability begins with ordinary citizens who refuse to be silent. His voice, his programs, and his advocacy show that when media, civil society, and citizens work together, leadership can be better, system can be stronger, and communities can thrive. Whether in Nigeria or Canada, his message is the same. Coexistence, participation, and integrity are the pillars of any society that hopes to progress. So as we sign up today, let's carry that reminder with us that each of us has a role to play in shaping the country we want. Weekend Kickoff continues next week, but your voice continues every day. Thank you for being part of the Weekend Kickoff this Friday, and a big apology to the Big 98 and Kofo for eating into their program, but I just needed to continue that conversation. It was at the point, Sonny was here and was wondering, okay, we need to continue. Sonny Mohammed, you recall Sonny Mohammed from our days in Alabama, said, okay, you need to continue this conversation. That was why we extended it. And I must say thank you very much. On behalf of everybody here, Kofo, Folonsho Bushola, DJ Magic here first, Gashu today, and Sonny Mohammed. I am Ambrose Olutaya Shomini. Have yourself a lovely weekend. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's something you don't see your picture.
Yeah. So good to see all of you. That's good.